In 1966, the Alaska Federation of Natives formed in response to land claims issues being brought forth by various Alaska Native groups. Soon after, Secretary of the Interior Stuart Udall signed several public land orders removing remaining federal lands from selection and conveyance until the state of Alaska, the federal government, and the Alaska Native peoples could resolve Aboriginal land claims. On December 18, 1971, President Richard Nixon signed the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act, or ANCSA as it's called among Alaskans. ANCSA was the first of its kind for federal Indian policy and established a for-profit model with land title under corporate ownership. The boundaries do not represent land ownership, but rather define areas in which lands could be selected and conveyed under the provisions of ANCSA. ANCSA also added to one of the largest land conveyance programs in the nation, with BLM Alaska staff overseeing the transfer of more than 45 million acres to Alaska Native regional and village corporations. To date, 96% of ANCSA corporation entitlements, more than 44 million acres, has been conveyed, with the most complex cases left. The BLM Alaska land conveyance staff work closely with ANCSA village and regional corporations to ensure the conveyances are completed and ensuring every survey is complete and there are no lingering issues to passing title to Alaska Native peoples. Sometimes these conveyances take years to complete and strong relationships are formed. BLM Alaska staff take pride in performing this important work, and we are happy to share their stories.
So, what was your most memorable conveyance?
There are many conveyances that are memorable because all these land conveyances they're very close to me because that's what these land claims is about. And so the one I can remember, and I shared a picture of it with you, and that is Joe Chithaluk and Luki Akelkuk from Ekwok, because they were so happy. They were giggling and talking between themselves and holding up the map. And so what I like to do is describe the picture as two kids having just been caught with their hands in the cookie jar. They were smiling so with big grins, and that's how happy I could see that they were to get their land entitlements.
The most memorable conveyances were the patents, where we finished title and did the mission. Probably the most memorable work is ones that I worked with the Washington office in the Hill on special legislation to see those things come to fruition. And it's one of those nice opportunities not everybody gets to work on the legislation and then get to manage the implementation and see the results of the legislation. The ones I'm thinking of right now are Point Spencer to Bering Straits Native Corporation, which was recently patented since I retired, and Sea Alaska, the finalization of the Sea Alaska program. Both of those each took about 10 years coordination with the Washington office in the Hill.
My most memorable conveyance is a time that Joe Labai, Ralph Aluska, and I flew out to Levelock in the winter of 2007 to hand deliver the last land patent for the Village Corporation of Levelock in Bristol Bay. And it was such a rewarding thing to do, to be able to be a part of that there in the village with the people who welcomed us with open arms.
The one that comes to mind is when I went to Gullivan, Alaska. First time that I visited a Native village, first time I was able to ride on a small aircraft. And meeting the people face to face, that gave me great joy because working the case files, you see the corporation names, but you don't get the chance to see the people behind that name. And so when I got to Gullivan and I met the people, they greeted us and they treated us like we were royalty. And just to be there with them and talk to them one-on-one and to see how happy they were to get their final patent, that gave me great joy, and that was the most memorable time for me.
Tell me about Anaktuvuk Pass.
Anaktuvuk Pass. We got to go there. I got to go there twice, both times in the summer, both times on the solstice, The meeting started about 7 in the evening. I think both times was punctuated with reports from people who were listening on the radio to the NBA playoffs with scores and important information like who had just fouled out, things like that. It was a wonderful meeting. It was great fun. The people were just awesome. And the meeting finally got done at about 1 in the morning. And it was still nice and bright, and their kids out playing basketball. I don't know how late they played basketball. I went to sleep to the sound of the ball whacking the ground.
How did it feel to leave there?
To leave there?
When you were done?
I felt great because the United States had finally done what it said it was going to do. And this particular exchange started, I don't know, 6 or 7 years before we actually did the conveyance. I came in kind of at the end, but yeah, it was awesome.
And why do you do what you do for BLM?
Well, they hired me, thank you. And I see what that job, land transfer resolution special is. They needed somebody to go into the villages and break loose any issues that were occurring that prevented the lands for their applications from coming into to us at BLM to adjudicate those. The culture of the Yupiks, I'll say here, they didn't believe that you could own land. And so they didn't want to go and complete their allotment applications because we couldn't convey the corporation lands applications because allotments came first. They were 1906, Claims Act was in 71. So we had to work with them to help them understand that, we can't finish up the Claims Act until we get the allotments out of the way. So they decided, okay, we'll go out and work with you to clean up the allotment lands. So that was one of the reasons that I liked that job.
I loved it. I loved the fact that there was a mission. You could see the results. You could actually talk to the customer. It was more than a desk job or administrative job. It was very one-to-one personal with employees and also the customers.
Why do I do what I do? Well, working as an adjudicator in the branch of adjudication for almost 18 years, it's just a very rewarding job to be part of history, to be a part of this legislation that was passed 50 years ago now this year, and to be able to be a part of the final entitlement in fulfilling the obligation that we have to the both regional and village corporations.
I love doing what I do because I get to undo a wrong that was done to the Native people years ago. At one time, they did not have a voice in regards to their land claims. And then ANCSA came along, and then we were able to issue conveyance to their land. And so when I get to do that, that brings me joy. That makes me happy.
Well, I do what I do because it is a way to, for the United States to atone in a very small way for injustices visited on innocent people. We make history. Every day on the 4th floor of this building, we make history. Every title search from now to the last syllable of recorded time will come back to the work we do today. And the work we do, the work I do, gives people hope, not just for now, but for every generation to come. And I know that because they have told me that. That's why I do what I do.